like I say, I'm going to try not to use loving kindness, but I'm so conditioned into that, but it doesn't really land on me as that is the intention in the meaning. It's because sometimes I'm not so lovable, you know. Sometimes I struggle with loving things that I don't like. I can be kind most of the time, I think, but times that I'm not. And I'm sure you all have experienced both. So Goodwill is an easier way to kind of think, because it's so natural. You know, who comes here with the plan that I'm gonna come to meditate to figure out how do I do harm? So it's just like natural. It's within us. Goodwill. So Metta is the Pali word, common translation. Is loving kindness. And I remember when the book Loving Kindness by Sharon Salzberg came to my hand. I had just moved to Long Beach. I think I was in transition to moving, but over 16 years ago, and I was like, whatever, you know, like I read it and it didn't really, like it was just whatever. Okay, nice ideas, but I couldn't feel it. And I couldn't feel that, you know. And in the insight tradition, and if you want to teach, you have to practice it. And that was a very challenging one for me. And so I decided to start practicing and not practicing, but experiencing it. And understanding the deeper feelings, emotions, underlying effect that brings, and how it just kind of pointing out to the edges that I don't like sometimes about me. Like I'm capable of being pissed off and cussing at people in ways that are very, very clear. And so then I started seeing more, you know, it's kind of like a purifying practice, purifying all this part of me. It is, yes, the goodwill for others, but sometimes I can have goodwill for someone that has hurt me. Yes, I don't want to be pissed off at you, but I really don't like you now. Right? And so it is also about protecting us. It's about protecting ourselves. Because when we shut our heart to others, when we stop caring about the humanity, when we stop seeing others as human beings, and we only see their imperfections, and our heart just closes down, they don't feel it. The experience is only here. And so it is actually the protection practice. The protection so that when we're ready to let go of the grudges, when we're ready to really wish that others are happy, and if not happy, at least at ease, then we are already taking care of ourselves, because we're not being consumed by our heart being shut. And so in the way that is put, that is taught, is about, you know, you could start with ourselves, with yourself. And for some people that's really hard, especially if we're going through a period where we're having a lot of regret and not liking ourselves. We feel like we don't deserve it. And sometimes we think we're the shit and we're a big deal. It's just like we're just inflating more our ego and putting more into it, and then not not opening to others. So it depends where we are. And so I find it starting with a benefactor, someone that is easy. Some people sometimes it could be a neutral person, but a benefactor, someone that has done good without much expectations, is a good way to say like, oh, this is how it feels when I feel desire, goodwill for others. This is how it feels in my body. Oh, it feels good. And then if we move on, with somebody that is a little bit more difficult, or move on to ourselves, this is wow. It doesn't land as easy. There's some edges here that I need to soften. And that's our work, our practice to do. So saying yes to our capacity to be present in life without ill will. And ill will doesn't feel like, but with all these difficult emotions that sometimes we feel towards others. And saying yes to our capacity to be free of those difficult emotions. Yes, we have the capacity, even in the midst of suffering, even when somebody has caused us suffering. And yes, it is a practice to protect ourselves. Practice to preserve our well-being, and to protect us from the harm of others. And I say practice to protect our well-being because it's kind of like in the airplane, the mask, when they'll tell you if you're an infant, you put it on first and then you put it to the little one. Because you got to protect yourself before you're able to help, before you're able to expand your capacity of care to others. And so, we may be in the idea that we're going to practice goodwill towards others because we don't want to be resentful or upset. But if we don't practice preserving our well-being or taking care of ourselves, then it's harder to give that care to others. So they go both hand in hand. I had an experience recently. Maybe this kind of gives an example of protecting ourselves and still having goodwill. I was in a retreat in the East Coast, and the retreat where I was is next to another one where they do long retreat centers, silent retreat centers. And people who go to that other retreat center, the Forest Refuge, they only go for like long periods of silence. So I wanted to go in and check that place over there, but I knew we could go, but just like quietly. And I decided to take the road for the car to enter because I didn't trust my back. And so I'm walking in the middle of the road, and there was this snake in the middle. I've never actually seen one. That color was really beautiful, bluish, and a little bit of lavender. And it looked like it was stomach up, but I couldn't really tell because I was very familiar to that type of a snake. Luckily I saw it because it was right in the middle, and I wasn't sure if it was dead or not. And I was looking around and seeing if there was any blood or if it had had been crushed over or anything. I couldn't really tell. And I thought, oh, if the cars start coming, they'll crush it. And I thought, well, I'm just going to pull it out of the road so it doesn't get crushed. I started looking for a stick. I guess it was time for the new retreat to start. So before me, there were like 2 cars that had gone up the hill, right? So I kind of had the sense, oh, it's probably a new retreat coming up now, because I think it was Thursday, and for the time, it's usually the time that retreats begin, right? So I kind of had that. I'm looking for a stick, but then there was a lot of that poison ivy around, and so I couldn't grab. I was afraid to grab the stick. I was afraid to get close to the snake, and I could feel fear for me, and then while I'm thinking about how do I find a stick and how to get the snake out of the road, this other car comes, and I'm halfway in the hill. The first time I was like, oh shit, my car is gonna crash it. And so I just kind of went, but I thought, oh, I'm not gonna get close to the snake because the snake gets scared with the engine, it's gonna come and bite me. So I just kind of stayed far and went like this, and the car just went over the snake and just moved to the side. And they say, what? I'm like, oh, nice retreat, because I thought, oh man, you just did it. But but I didn't want to put that blame on them, knowing that they were going to head to a retreat, right? And then I came to the snake, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't protect you. May you die peacefully. May you be free of suffering. And I just thought, well, it's a snake. I don't know if a snake has the same needs as a human. I don't know if she or it has a mom or children, or not children, but little snakes waiting for them. But it just came so natural, the desire to ease its suffering. And as I'm watching that, the other cars start passing by, and she was gone. But the deep desire, real genuine desire for this animal to be free of suffering was there, connected with her. It just came very natural, very natural. And I've been thinking a lot in terms of okay, what's the all of this? And naturally, I have to take care, this natural wisdom, this natural awareness. I need to protect myself. This precious life, this body that has been given to me, I'm responsible for taking care of it. And because I don't know the snake, I didn't know that snake, I needed to just act in what I thought would be safer for me. To protect myself. And that doesn't mean that I didn't care for the snake. It doesn't mean that I wasn't aware that it could have been poisonous. But that was all I could do at that moment, offer my sincere desire that it will die quick and without suffering. That's Metta. That's Metta. And then bringing it to me, because that was all I could do, and just sort of accept and recognize my limitations. And so, when we really become more intimate with the practice, and we become to see its edges, right? We become to see this doesn't feel right for me. Just come up, but it is a natural gift that humans have. It's goodwill. And sometimes because we're not able to see clearly, sometimes because of ignorance, not ignorance because we don't care, but I don't know about snakes. Could have been non-poisonous. It could have been not intentional ignorance. I just simply didn't know. Sometimes we're not able to act in a different way, and we can cause suffering, as others can bring suffering to us. And so, extending that awareness that perfection is also part of our human condition, as it is goodwill, and then we can turn around and offer the best of us so that we can grow spiritually. And looking at those ages, we can also recognize that sometimes with Goodwill, with Metta, comes with this other condition. We call it the near and far enemy. But it's it's a virtue to see both, right? Sometimes we want to offer goodwill, kindness, metta, whatever you call it, because we want something back. We expect something back, even a smile or a thank you. And just being aware of that it's coming from here, not because we want anything, but because that's what we want to offer. And that the person that is receiving that kindness, whether it's with the mind that we're sending it or with their action, may not be in a state where they can return a thank you or a smile. And so to acknowledge that goodwill is given freely, I'm expecting to receive back, because then we have to deal with that the craving of wanting something, right? The desire of wanting something that then we have to bring loving kindness because we didn't get what we want. We have to bring goodness and peace because, again, we had expectations that could not be met. And I have come, have arrived to this practice now after all these years that it's really important to incorporate that practice, goodwill practice, because as we sit here in silence and we go into retreats or we do more reflections of the cushion about our life, about what we do, we start seeing the messiness, the mess that we can become, and we start seeing the potential to be the person that we want to become. And sometimes we can see how when we were born, we were just this beautiful baby human being, pure, just happy. Even if it was only on the first 2 hours of birth, like a happy, joyful being. Clear of resentment, clear of anything, just happy. And the minute that they didn't give us the milk or they didn't hold us in arm, and we start being like, they don't care about me. And life just kind of takes us into different ways of how we experience and shape our ideas, our views of what we should receive, when we were neglected, and we look back at that, and it's like, oh, I'm still holding that, or I don't know where that comes from. I don't know why I feel so insecure, because maybe we don't know that person who was babysitting us wasn't really protecting us as they should have, but the body remembers that. And so as we go, we sometimes in this journey, maybe not, but sometimes, very often, we realize, wow, there's a lot in here that I don't know how to take care of, that I don't know how to heal yet. But we do have the power to begin with metta, with goodwill. We have the magic cure, we all do. And the best person to practice is always with us. And if that's not accessible, we practice with any being, maybe an animal, wherever we can feel that it can blossom easier, and then bring it to us, and then extend it to the world.